But how can the executive say, on the basis of a judgment? Shouldn't it be on the basis of the royal family decision? The basis is not a court judgment. The basis is the decision of the royal family. And my lord, perhaps can I speculate how that would have turned out? The first would have been the judgment of Justice Madondo comes out. It says what it says. The royal family embraces it and says we're not appealing it. So it says what it says. The president says, well, I now have a judicial finding that sets out the road path for me to identify. But there is an important part that one has to have, an application by the royal family. That application is mandatory. So the royal family would decide it and would say, well, we have a judgment, we endorse its findings, we think the judgment is sound, we want the president to appoint or to recognize the person that is referred to in the judgment. He's our son, these are the qualities, and this is why we think Justice Madondo is correct. That doesn't happen.
That's now your second point.
Sorry?
That's now your second point. Initially you said the three points. Did the royal family identify as successors? Secondly, did the royal family deliver an application? And third, did the president consult with the minister and the premier?
Yes.
You've now slightly gone on with the president's consultation, but you've now referred to the application. Is that now the formal point?
Yes, that's the other ground.
Yes. You say there was no formal application by the royal family as such, as you say, to say this is the king-elect and these are the reasons.
Yes, in fact, what happens, my lord, is that the president is specifically told by the members of the royal family that there is going to be an appeal. And my lord, perhaps I should refer to that letter.
Without stealing
It
Mr.
appears,
Dodson's thunder.
I beg your pardon, my lord.
Without stealing Mr. Dodson's thunder.
No, without stealing Mr. Dodson's thunder. I definitely don't intend to do that, but my lord, so there are two letters of critical importance that your lordship, I would refer your lordship to. The first one appears on page 006-94, and that's the letter by the attorneys of the royal family as represented by the applicants here, which set out in commendable detail why the president should not identify any successor at the time. I might refer you, my lord, to paragraph 11 of that letter. It says, we request the honorable president to communicate with us by close of business on Friday, 11 March 2022, first to acknowledge receipt of this letter, and second, to convey to the honorable president's attitude towards giving our clients the opportunity that is necessary for them to resolve this weighty constitutional matter prior to considering the recognition of any person as king of SamaZulu. They ask the president, they say, please give us an opportunity. The president ignores them. But then there is a letter, the earlier letter, which I thought I had here. Sorry, so there's also an earlier letter, which is the letter of the 21st of February. And my lord, you'll see that letter that the first applicant explains why the identification has not been done. And he says that there are many rituals that have to be done, amongst others.
Is that the letter 006-98?
It's 006-98, yes.
98, yeah.
So that letter, my lord, is very critical because you'll see at the end what he says. Just under conclusion, the royal family has great respect for the AmaZulu throne. The Zulu royal family has great respect for the Zulu culture, customs, and practices. The Zulu royal family vows to honor the legacy of His Majesty, the late King Kazwelithin, and his predecessors by ensuring that their wishes are upheld in matters of succession to the Zulu King, His Majesty, the late King Kazwelithin, trusted the Zulu Royal Council through appointment and council to do what's best for the royal household and the AmaZulu nation. So you'll see that the president was constantly being told by these applicants that he must wait and not act on recognizing the second respondent. And then the letter of the 12th, the Act specifically tells us when it's dealing with the application, it says that when it deals with the application, it says under section 8.1 A, Roman numeral 2.
Apply to the President or relevant minister, as the case may be, for the recognition of the person so identified as king, which application must be accompanied by particulars of the person so identified, the reasons for identification of that person.
Yes.
That's what you're referring to?
Yes, that's what I'm referring to. But you'll see here, my lord, that there is the letter of the 12th is titled Coronation of His Majesty King Misuzulu Kazwelithin. One would have expected that if it was an application under Section 8, that it says application for the recognition of Prince Misuzulu Kazwelithin. But you'll see there that the letter is essentially one that tells a story of how the king is already on the throne. And we're now talking coronation. We're not talking recognition. We're talking coronation. That's why the title is Coronation of His Majesty. But importantly, the second paragraph of the letter says, His Majesty King Misuzulu Kazwelithin was recognized by the royal family on 14 May 2021, following the reading of the will of Her Majesty Queen Mantfombi Dlamini Zuma, the late regent of the Zulu nation, on 7 May. Perhaps, my lord, the important part now is for me to show that the reliance on the meeting of the 14th, which, by the way, His Lordship Madondo left open. His main finding there was no one has challenged the validity of this meeting of the 14th. This application does so. So it didn't deal with the allegations that are here, that are made out in this particular application. And you would have seen, my lord, that that meeting of the 14th was a meeting. Can I have that meeting of the 14th? Let's refer me to the meeting of the 14th. My lord, I beg your pardon. I just want to add a bit of a senior moment there. But the meeting of the 14th was a meeting we contend was called under the pretext of firstly, it was a day when a cleansing ceremony had taken place in relation to the passing of the late Queen. On that very day, then the late Prince Buthelezi says, I thought it would be a good idea for us to meet because most members were present on that particular day. We say in our application, what you'll see is that there's a list of people that are allegedly members of the royal family who attended that meeting. But we have shown, my lord, in response to that meeting of the 14th, that it should never be trusted as reflecting a meeting of the royal family. It was not called by the royal family. It was not a meeting that was an identification meeting of the royal family. You will see from the minutes that you have there that all that happened was that someone was the meeting was opened. My lord, I've got a Misuzulu version for it, and I don't want to read that one because for the record, I do have the English version of it. My learned friends here will help me with that. But so that meeting could never be a meeting that represents the royal family as defined. In the first place, there is not a single person in this courtroom today saying that, validating the meeting in the sense of saying, yes, except the second respondent. Yes, I was there in the meeting. This is what happened, and this is what happened, and this is what happened. Not one person says that here. They may be in the courtroom, but they're not in the papers. So there no confirmatory affidavits, my lord. No confirmatory affidavits for anybody in that meeting, saying this is how it was called, why it was called. We make specific allegations about that meeting.
Can it still have been a meeting even though it followed on the cleansing ceremony? Does it necessarily have to be a separate meeting?
If it's a meeting of the royal family designed to carry out this sacred duty of appointing a king, why put it together with the cleansing ceremony? The Zulu royal family would know better how you structure that particular meeting. You could never just mix it with any other day. It's so important, my lord, when they select a king, that there shouldn't be any other event on the day, especially an event that links to the death of a member. My lord, that meeting, you'd have seen that it was, it says, it's on page 020-273. Well, I'm opening where it starts, it's 020/272. And you'd have seen that the chairperson of that meeting was Prince Mangosuthu. There's a great debate between the parties about the status of Prince Mangosuthu to sit as a member of the royal family and preside over the issue and direct the affairs of the royal family insofar as the identification of a king is concerned. And your lordship would look and find not a single affidavit in this application that, in terms of which Prince Buthelezi makes it clear that he is in fact entitled to chair meetings of the Zulu royal family and to direct their affairs insofar as they want to identify a successor to a king. We're not going to, and my lord, this is a difficult argument to make because I do want to have reverence for Prince Buthelezi's passing away without compromising my client's case. There is a great deal of unhappiness in the royal family with the role that Prince Buthelezi played, and you'll see much of that in the panel report itself. That people who, when Prince Buthelezi wasn't there, and they were asked to speak frankly and openly about what was going on, they were very clear about what they believed his status was. And they did not believe that he had the status to direct the affairs of the Zulu royal family, particularly those relating to the successor to the late king, His Majesty Kazwelithin. You'll see, my lord, there, under purpose of the meeting, Prince Buthelezi welcomed all members of the royal family, reserving all rights protocol. But the more important part is that expressed appreciation for the presence of all members of the royal family from their respective palace and for assuring unity. Prince Buthelezi introduced the new incoming king of the entire royal family as Prince Misuzulu Kazwelithin Zulu. Introduced.
Sure, but it goes further. He referred to the president, and then he refers to the reading out of a letter by Prince Makada, Prince
Smagades.
Yes, the other applicant. And then he goes on to say, once again nominated. And then there is then the comment from other members of the royal family from paragraphs 5 and 6, words of thanks from the Queen, and then the comments by other members. So one must read the whole document, I think, and not only the announcement.
No, in fairness, my lord, I'm still on the podium, and I'm still going through my arguments. Yeah. The suggestion that I'm trying to read half of the paragraph is not a fair one.
I just say when one reads the document.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yes, no, I understand.
No, I'm not
understand.
suggesting.
I understand.
My lord, doing anything improper. No. I just say that when you refer to the fact that he comes and he introduces it, and you say, well, you shouldn't have done that, you're not a member of the royal family, and besides, he hasn't even been identified yet. That's wrong. But one should read the document as a whole and say, well, how far does that go then?
Yes. But even the second question you asked, Malot, how far does it go read in the context, the whole document? Can it ever be suggested? And the first question, if he's not a member of the royal family as we define it, then that immediately vitiates the entire meeting. Only the royal family is entitled to call a meeting of that nature. And the royal family is before your lordship today. So you'll find nowhere in history, where Undunankulu of the nation is the one who decides who should be king. And perhaps let me go to what our replying affidavit, in the affidavit of the second respondent.
Just refresh my memory.
I have it here.
Refresh my memory. Is that letter of Prince Makade annexed to this minute? It's at a separate page.
The letter of Prince Makade is attached to the. It should be attached to that meeting, to that minute. Can I have the replying affidavit of our replying to Misuzulu?
It's at a separate page, not next to this translated minute. But that was
Yes.
the one. Was that the one which Matondo HAP referred to?
The letter of Prince Makade is the one that Matondo refers to, yes, where he says Prince Makade abandoned his right to be
disavowed.
disavowed his rights. I use a strong word, my lord, but I see your point. My lord, in our heads of arguments, we deal with the reason why that meeting in fact, we dealt with it in the other. I just can access it quicker in our heads of arguments, and we deal with that from page 032.5 of our heads in the on case line. You'll see, my lord, just going through the whole our heads on the issue. We were very meticulous in how I tried to identify the members of the royal family referred to as having been present in the meeting of the
14th of May.
Of the 14th of May. And you'll see there, my lord, that there was a number of people who were not members of the royal family present in that meeting. Yeah, Bazinj. I will then take your lordship to page from paragraph.
Are you now referring to your
34.
heads of argument?
Sorry, my lord.
Are you referring to heads of argument?
Heads of arguments, yes.
Yes.
Paragraph 34. That's a list which appears in many times in different in our heads of arguments. As we say that he has attached a list of attendees at the meeting, and we're referring to the second respondent called by Prince Peter. But a clear examination of the list supports the conclusion that this was not a meeting of the royal family convened for the purpose of identifying an heir to the successor. From the list with handwritten information, that's your annexure KM8. The details require a full name, surname, institution of house, telephone number, and email, and then the signature only. There are two attendance registers. The first counts up to 51 attendees, and the second counts up to 84 attendees. In the first attendance register, the date of the register is typed 14 May 2021. But in the second register, the date is inserted by handwriting. It is unclear why the list was created, except as we contend it was for COVID regulatory purposes. There is no evidence that the list of attendees was created especially for the purpose of identifying the responsible members of the ruling family or royal family. This is important because of the different roles that members of the royal family at different levels play in the identification process. And then there's a third list which is typed, which purport to interpret or replicate KM8. The typed list is a distorted reinterpretation of the handwritten list. The typed list groups the attendees according to the so-called lineage from the attendees alleged come from.
Yes, no, that's good.
And it's important, my lord, because can I just do this, because it's very important that it's understood. Right now, I'm talking to you, your lordship, as a court case, but you understand the interest in the matter is far beyond what I say in the courtroom. And can I just go through, with your permission, my lord, what we identify here as having been the problem? Because if your lordship decides that the matter should go back to the royal family, these are the issues that should engage them as they decide with the issue. And I do want to point out in the list which is contended by the second respondent.
You say it's been adjusted fraudulently to make it
Yes,
a grouping
it is absolutely
of representation of certain of the houses constituting the royal family.
Yes, and I did want to go through that, because some of them will know that there are no royal houses of the nature that are referred to. They don't exist. And that's important, as you can hear, my lord. So,
well, now, I have that from the heads, and I don't want to curtail your argument, but what I understand is you say the argument is there are no such houses as identified in the regrouped list.
yes.
And
For example, my lord, there is no house called Kwapindangene in the royal family. There is no house like that. But it's listed. There is no royal in the royal family. There is no house.
all right. No, I've seen that. Thank you. And you've gone. There's a list in the heads of argument. It appears that there's.
My lord, I do need protection.
I'm not going to rely on the difference or disagreement displayed in open court. I'll rely on what has been said in the paper.
My lord, the sensitivity of this matter is such that it will be very important for your lordship to get everybody to understand the role I play. I have no personal interest in the matters of the royal family.
No.
I just argue my client's case.
Yes.
So I would like everybody to know I'm not here representing myself.
Yes.
So
You're an officer of the court representing a client and
Yes.
advancing the argument which has been made in
Yes.
affidavits.
yes. I mean no insult to anybody. I mean no disrespect to anybody. I just want to make myself clear that I act for these applicants who are members of the royal family.
Yes.
On their advice, on their instructions, certain names that appear as houses, or houses of the royal family, which are listed in the meeting of the 14th, don't exist.
They say they don't
Yes.
exist as houses, or if they exist as houses, not as houses of the royal
Of the royal family, yes.
No, I understand.
They are not
that.
relevant. They would not be relevant for the succession issue. They would not even be present to discuss anything of the royal family. And then, my lord, we also point out.
Let me just out loud say what you've now said, which is correct. That counsel argues a matter on the papers and representing his client. And I shall deal with what is said and weigh up what he has argued on evidence, on what other applicant or respondents has said in evidence. But we need to do the argument in the proper manner. And when counsel argues, he argues that proposition. And I cannot and should not and will not be allowed the argument then to be dictated by disagreement in court.
My lord, perhaps I should leave it at the point of saying I refer your lordship to our heads of arguments on the meeting of the 14th. But we emphasize that meeting of the 14th was not a meeting of the royal family. We say that the late Prince Buthelezi is not a member of the royal family, was not entitled.
I think those attending court didn't hear me clearly earlier. Is that I will rely on what counsel says, and the parties who are represented here have their own legal representatives, and I need to hear what they say and attach sufficient weight to what they say and not to disagreement in court.
Lord, I don't wish to be discourteous, it's not in my nature, but I was wondering whether it wouldn't facilitate this hearing if your Lordship would grant me the indulgence of a 5-minute adjournment to explain exactly what your Lordship is saying.
You're going to do that in Misuzulu? Yes. Perhaps that's a good idea. Mr. Masuka?
I have no objection to that, my lord.
Court will adjourn.
All right.
Because you don't